Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hello and welcome as the Apex Racing Academy Formula 4 Championship returns, and well, from the madness of Montreal, we're hopefully taking now the calmness of Catalonia, the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia. I am Tim Cox with Samuel in the virtual production trailer. Aaron Smith joins me as always, and well, a much more wider circuit compared to what we experienced last week. And, well, I think this is going to invoke some great racing around here, Aaron.
Yeah, Catalonia, especially in the more slower forms of racing, we tend to get some quite good wheel-to-wheel battles around here. I think Formula 1 suffers quite badly, which is why it gets a bad rap. But I think in these lower formulas like Formula 3, Formula 4, Formula Ford, you don't get as much dirty air and you can follow so much closer. And as you were saying, the wideness of this track really does allow for some really, really good overtaking opportunities. And I mean, these guys are going to have to be a little bit more careful than last week. And well, either way, we're in for a good day of racing.
It's turn one, isn't it, here, Alf? That's always the danger point on the circuit. It's almost Monza-esque, where you've got this long run, you know, you wind it out of the final corner, New Holland, long, yeah, not quite Fuji long, but a long start-finish straight, and that run, you know, big braking, saying big taking opportunities, and of course that wide track normally encourages drivers to make it 2, 3, sometimes I've even seen 4 wide down into there, and that's where it can get tricky, especially off the starts. But qualifying just getting underway right now. Drivers heading out onto their first flying lap, you can see on the screen. Before we head out across into the 2 heats, of course, in qualifying, all the drivers qualifying in odd position spots will head into Heat 1. Those in even position spots will head across into Heat 2. The top 7 from them, they'll progress straight into the final. Everyone else will make their way into the Consolation or the B final, where this week only the top 1 driver will head through into the final. Well, the drivers just on their first flying lap. Let's take a look at the championship standings, see exactly where we're up to right now. And into Pro is Cyril Zambra leading the way, but only by a slim 2 points up over Aiden Young. It's just to see what the American can do. Mr. Consistent compared to Zambra's, well, so far this season, all or nothing performances. That's why those two are so close. And opening up a gap to Theodore Bergson in third. He's then got a bit of a gap of 12 points to Kaibak. Neville Kelleher, who I know is not with us this week, is in sixth, with Zamsha and Moore, Bell and Heron rounding out your top 10 there. Across into Am, well, slightly different situation. Garrett Spence leading by a slightly larger margin. He's got some 7 points difference between himself and Tom Minot in second. Laritsen, he's been quick, but didn't see him last week, so interesting to see what he can do. I know he's been running incredibly quickly during the practice sessions, although, as we know from practice sessions, they can tell you absolutely everything and nothing whatsoever at exactly the same time. Chris Kirk, he's getting cut adrift a little bit now, 26 behind Laritsen in fourth. Then they've got Russell, Walsh, Wilkinson, Arroyo, Kliss and Tuff running out your top 10 there. And well, first time's coming in, and it's Zambra Whale, who would normally come to expect it, leading the way. 2 tenths clear. I mean, that's a big old margin around here, isn't it? To be clear of the rest of the field, and Kamala and Schnabel, well, incredibly close, only 200 separating those two.
Yeah, Zambra looks to be really, really on it this weekend, as in practice, I believe he was top of the timing sheet, so he's on a mission leading the championship at the moment. But coming to those championship standings, I think once those drop rounds come into play, I think it will shake the field up massively, as we have some quick guys in both classes, in AM and Pro, who both are incredibly quick, but just maybe haven't had the best start to the season, whether it's their own fault or just haven't had the best of luck getting involved in other people's wrecks. You know, the likes of Schnabel, Laritsen, who we know have been quick, and Schnabel, of course, the season before this was pretty much best of the rest compared to the top Delta drivers. But yeah, like Laritsen, he was putting in some good performances during practice, but I think last week at Canada has really shaken up the AM Championship. And at the moment in both championships, it's just down to consistency.
You mentioned about Canada last week, that Consolation race, the B final. I mean, we had 5 pro drivers. There was only 4 transfer spots into the grand final, as Kamala goes fastest there, 2 tenths quicker from Zambra, who then instantly replies to go further 2 tenths quicker with a 144 dead. I mean, we had 5 pros, 4 transfer spots. We thought realistically, probably one of them, you know, was going to miss out. We'll see 4 pros through. Nope, didn't work out that way whatsoever. In the end, only 1 pro made it through. It was a real dramatic race, well worth going and watching back that one. But halfway through qualifying, Zambra currently the fastest driver overall. Kamala, he'll take pole for heat 2. And then it's Bergerson. Schnabel's starting to get cut adrift a little bit in this mid-stage of qualifying. He's 4 tenths behind Bergerson, 6 tenths off that's in fact nearly 7 tenths. And then it's Presley Young, might not your top AM qualifier. He's just shy of a second off the pace, with Laritsen currently second. Although those two will be in separate heats from each other right now, as things stand. And well, faster laps coming in left, right and centre. People improving all around. I can see Zambra is improving. He's gone faster than anyone in sector 2 initially, though just dropping a little bit of time. Just seeing Tom Minot right now. And well, a much bigger track, but in equal terms, it's still tricky, isn't it, with this open qualifying format? I mean, quite a few straights around here. It's a tricky one, isn't it, Aaron? Because you want to be in the, in the right place at the right time to get the slipstream, but at risk of tripping over the car in front of you.
Yeah, I remember in the season before this in Formula 3, it really was that battle, comparing the track as well. I think a track like this, slipstream is definitely a key factor, and you probably do want to have someone slipstream during this open qualifying session, as we have seen a few times already. I believe it's Kamala on that previous lap, and now Presley, who we're watching right now, who is trying to benefit from that slipstream. But if you were a track like we were last week, like at Canada, I think you'd much rather be by yourself and concentrate, as this is what I mean. You might just end up catching up the car ahead of you, whether it's to do with them making a mistake or you just naturally catching them through the slipstream. It is a big risk, and for me personally, most of the time I would prefer to just do my lap by myself. I wouldn't really feel like the slipstream. I kind of felt like the cons outweighed the pros, but some of these drivers may have different thoughts than I do.
Ooh, that was, I think, Lennart Schnabel, yeah, just certainly one of the Alcantech cars. Yeah, I think it was Schnabel there, just having a spin, not helping himself, and especially with where the clock is right now and this hard and fast rule where as soon as you hit the 10-minute marker, that is it. As you're across the line, doesn't matter how close you are, you will not post your time, even if you are improving. And well, that's looking like he's done and dusted. Bergeson in the pits. Presley, he's going out for one last gasp attempt, although I don't think he's going to make it round in time for him. You see Kirk head up into 11th. Great lap from him, third highest of the AM qualifiers. Going a temp quicker than Philip Russell there. And Spence really struggling a bit in qualifying here, where we normally expect to see him.
Yeah, I think Spence may not have the most, like, the quickest pace out of some of these AM drivers, but he definitely is the most sensible, the most, I'd say probably the most experienced as well, the most level-headed, and well, that's why he's leading the championship as he comes across the line for his final lap. And he improves a little bit, but not quite enough to push him ahead of anyone else. But yeah, he might not be the quickest on track, but sometimes that just simply doesn't matter. If you can't keep it out of the wall and out of other cars, you're simply just not going to win a championship. And Spence is doing a good job at proving why that is. He's just been consistent. Had a bit of bad luck last week, though, getting involved in that massive first lap crash with all the other AMs in the feature race. But, you know, nevertheless, he's proving that consistency is key.
Definitely, and while we're talking, Amor has gone second ahead of Kamala, so that means he will start pole in Heat 2, pushing Kamala into Heat 1. Eddie Young improved up into 6th, and well, there you go. That's it, we hit the 10-minute mark, that is it, we are done and dusted for qualifying. Let's take you through the grid for our first heat of this evening. Zambra starting on pole with Kamala. Interesting to see how those two get on the front row. Second row is Schnabel and Northamptonshire. Tom Minot, highest of the AM qualifiers. He starts on the third row alongside fellow AM driver Chris Kirk in an all-British row. Row 4 sees Archie Heron and Balkan, Clist and Jay Walsh. Another all-British row there. That's rounds out your top 10. And row 5, the grid. Caponio and Visacourt really struggling in qualifying, the two pros. They'll start on the 6th row in your last complete row here from Barcelona. In the first heat of the evening. It's going to be interesting to see how those two pros come through the field. Of course, I mentioned earlier, only the top 7 drivers will make it through. So, I mean, if they all finish as they are, which we know is never going to happen, we will see 2 pros make it through in the form of Minot and Kirk. And, well, we'll lose Caponio and Vascourt, but we'll see. See them on the right-hand side of your screens right now. But currently, 9:15 local time here in Barcelona, and well, relatively cool track temperatures there. Got 20 degrees ambient and 22 degrees Celsius track temperatures, so that's going to be nice and grippy for the drivers out there. But it's quite relatively humid, 55 degrees, so 55% humidity. Just waiting for the last couple of drivers to take to the grid. We're just waiting on Heron and Versicourt. The last 2 drivers were actually the pole, who's starting from the back of the grid, so not on pole. He's going to start 12th, just waiting for him. He's got about 15 seconds left. Interesting to see whether he joins us. Struggled in qualifying, so not sure whether he's going to give this a go, but it remains to be seen. There we go, just populates onto the grid. Leading it right to the last seconds. And here comes the lights. Let's get ready to go racing from Barcelona in the Apex Racing Academy Formula 4 Championship in Heat 1 as we are green and we are away, and Zambra not getting the best of start and has to move across to cover off Kamala, who gets shouldered across, has to back out a bit, and then we've got the 2 Alcantech cars right behind us, Schnabel and Zamstra. What can they do that in turn 1? As Schnabel took them right into them and, well, moves right around the outside and is going to take the lead and swoops down in spectacular style for the second row of the grid. Lennart Schnabel, your leader here as we exit through Renault. And what a great move off the start, and Zambra being, well, absolutely under attack, left, right, centre. Kamala just dipping his nose in where Zambra really does not want it in these early stages. And Kirk not getting the best start. He's dropped 1. Vizicor, wow, he's already up 2, is the pro driver and trying to make his way through. Is that going to be contact? No. Heron just looking up the inside there. That's Tom Minot losing a place, still inside that top 7. He's in 6th. With Kirk also just right in amongst this battle, and already our top 7 start to formulate a bit of a gap here. They are some, 8 tenths clear. The cars behind them, and we're not even complete through, well, 1 lap yet, Aaron.
Yeah, that start from Schnabel was absolutely extraordinary. He was really pushing the limits, but there we go. There's the move from Zambra to get back into the lead. Now Schnabel is under a little bit of pressure from Kamala behind, but although Schnabel might have lost that lead for now, and even Kamala's trying to have a look up the inside in this final sector, don't really see moves here often, but just didn't have enough space to put a nose in. But yeah, that start from Schnabel was really, really something. Going round the outside of Kamala and Zambra, and a little bit of wheel banging from Schnabel, but just managed to keep it on the track. And Zambra being very, very aggressive off the start. But are these guys, after battling through the last sector, just letting Zambra start to run away with it? And Zambra seems to have the upper hand on pace on these two, so they need to keep inside that slipstream desperately, otherwise they have no chance of winning this race.
I was interested as they came across the start-finish line because Schnabel elected to dip into the slipstream of Zambra and move up against the inside wall, whereas Kamala decided not to. He remains on the racing line on the left side of the track, the right side of your screen, so we saw them come down the start-finish straight. So different tactics employed by the drivers, and to be fair, Kamala did not lose much time, and could he be any closer to the gearbox of Schnabel? Incredibly close there as they came through Seat, down into Worth, and now this is a really key part of the track, especially through Kamsa, this next corner, because it gives the opportunity for the drivers, if they can get it all right, for an overtake down into Lakaxa. As through we go. Zambra is clear, then we're going to see Kamala dip out. Yes, he moves to the left, and is this going to be another place lost for Schnabel, as he did on the previous lap? No, it's not. Kamala dips back in and keeps looking, he keeps knocking on the door, Kamala, but it's nothing with anything conviction. I mean, early stage of the race, I know, we're only 3 minutes in, but we've only got 10 minutes in these heats, and, well, it could be a bit of a numbers game being played by the Finn right now. However, maybe needs a bit more conviction in some of his, attempts right now.
Yeah, I think Kamala probably could have gone for that move into turn 10, but he was a tiny bit too far back, and when I say a tiny bit, I do mean the smallest of margins to make a clean move. But yeah, Kamala seems to have the upper hand a little bit on pace. He did qualify ahead of Schnabel, of course, but yeah, Schnabel just losing a little bit of time to Zambra, and I don't know what the game plan is. I don't know if Schnabel's thinking, okay, I'm slower a little bit than Zambra, I'm just going to hold on to second. Or does he think maybe that he can let Kamala pass, let Kamala reel in Zambra, and there is Kamala going for a move up the inside into turn 5. And wow, that was an unexpected send, and he's not got the move done fully, as Schnabel's still alongside, but now Kamala is fully ahead as we head down to turn 9, and we'll see what Kamala can do from here.
Schnabel trying to fight back instantly to reclaim that place. It's allowing Zambra just to gallop away right now. 1.1 seconds clear of these two, scrapping away for second place in this first heat of this evening. And well, as for our two pros, he started on the back row. Camonio, he's moved up 1 spot from 11th to 10th. Whereas Bicycle, the pole, well, great start for him. He's already up 4 spots. He's into 8th. And he is closing. I mean, when he got the move done of Balkan, he was 7 tenths behind Kirk. He has reduced that margin a bit right now. So there he is. Oh, you see how he's right up onto the back of Kirk. He's gapped down to some, 3 tenths right now. And that is his chance. As we reach the halfway stage, Zambra leads from Kamala, Schnabel third. Then it's Vanstra who's dropping off a little bit. So here comes Schnabel trying to sneak back through into second, backs out of it. Heron's 5th. Then Minot and Kirk, the 2 AM drivers, 6th and 7th, and make it the last of the transfer spots. Visacor, though, is all over the back of Kirk. So you see right now, having a look all the way around, the long way round, getting a bit loose at the rear, looking for the switchback, and he could well get the move done. Through Bruno, certainly on the brakes onto the Repsol, and shutting the door in his face is Kirk there. Says, no, you don't have it that easy. I desperately want to get it straight into the final. I don't want to be messing around. Vitacore has another look there, has to back out of it once again. And this is allowing Minot to have a much more comfortable time as he extends his gap. These guys were nose to tail as they came across the start-finish line. Minot now has gaps of 1.3 seconds over Kirk. And this is the most intriguing battle, I think, overall on track right now, because it's two cars scrapping away. Well, to be fair, Barcon's closing in on them. So we could have three cars scrapping out over the last of the transfers whilst Aaron as well. Vitacore locks up the inside, locks up. And does he get the move done? No, he spun it. And well, I think that's his chances. That's his hopes gone, done and dusted as he's now, 7 seconds behind Kirk.
Yeah, that was a crucial error from Vitacore. And he needed to get that move done. And yeah, just made a tiny mistake. And well, yeah, as you said, it's pretty much ended his hopes. But yep, don't count it out just yet, as anything can happen during these races, as we found out over the past few races. But Kirk, at the moment, I think he's comfortable-ish, but he does have Balakan about 7/10 behind him. And, well, these two AMs are surely going to battle it out hard if Balakan can get close enough. But Kirk seems to have the upper hand, as Heron, I think, makes a mistake through turn 3 and allows Minot up into 5th. He is having an extraordinary race so far, the AM.
He is. He's moved down a couple of spots. He's now back up to where he started, which means our top 5 have all shuffled around, sorted themselves out, and are now back to their starting positions. However, really does put him in good stead when it comes to starting position for that final. We've got 2 minutes left on the clock. It's going to be tight when they come across the line as to whether we're going to have one more lap or 2 more laps left in this race. But Kamala not having it comfortable right now from Schnabel, and starting to come up on a bit of traffic there. That is close to an incident early on in the race. That's why he's so far down and out of the pace. He has actually popped into the pits, utilise one of the fast repairs available to the drivers. Certainly not where he would hope to be, as I think Walsh has lost the place to Caponio further down through the field. Yes, that's a move done and dusted. As Walsh gets squirrely and loose on the exit there. Oh wow. The 182 Caponio is through. He's up a position now as well. He had initially, I think, lost it actually to Walsh, apologies. So, I've gone there. He's down, and it's looking like our top 7 are going to be pretty much set. So, was Balkan had an issue?
He lost a few seconds somewhere, and I'm guessing this is what happened. And yeah, just too much speed coming into those final few corners, and yeah, that's I'm guessing that's him just pushing a little bit too hard to try and catch up to Kirk, and has made a crucial mistake. But these two now fighting for basically what is last place, if you don't count Clist. But I think Walsh made a mistake on the last lap, and Caponio did as well. As Caponio was ahead of Vitacore, but had a horrid middle sector, about 6-ish seconds slower than normal. So they both made mistakes, and yeah, oddly, speaking of mistakes, we've seen quite a few in this heat coming from a lot of drivers, pretty much from 6th downwards. And yeah, these guys now just fighting for where they start in the B final. And yeah, they're going to have a tough day if they want to make it through into the feature. But one man who's had a pretty easy day so far is your leader, Zero Zambra, who's had it pretty easy this heat, I'd say. 1.5 seconds. And well, he's probably going to win this race.
See, he's got the last complex of corners. I mean, didn't have it easy early on, did Zambra? Of course, Schnabel did lead early on with that spectacular move into turn 1 right around the other side of him and Kamala, but while Zambra clears final corner, he's going to take the victory in heat 1. Kamala 2nd, Schnabel 3rd, so Zambra will in fact then be starting from pole in the final. There's Semsha, Minot, Heron and Kirk, they are all through. Now it's just sorting out the best of the rest, and this is coming down to the wire between Caponio and Walsh. As Walsh on right-hand side of the screen, left side of the track, and, well, is he going to fight back? It's going to go all the way to the line between these two, and it could go either way. As well. I'm not even sure how that ended as we transition straight across into the next session.
Yeah, that was a bit of a strange one. Battling for last place.
Yeah, well, hey, it all counts, doesn't it? It all counts towards your grid position in the Consolation race. Let's take you through your grid for Heat 2 this evening. Moore starts on pole with Bergerson alongside him on the front row. Then it's Young and James Presley, an all-American row down row 2. Lauritsen and Russell make up a all-AM row 3 of the grid with Garrett Spence. There's another AM driver, likewise Toff, starting behind him. They're 4th row of the grid, 7th and 8th respectively. Nick Polliard, he's got Michael Kai back for company. Disappointing qualifying for him. Not setting a time likewise. Neither did Poggy or Bell. 2 pros starting from the back. Are they going to make it through? Here come the lights as we go racing in Heat 2 with, well, quite a few drivers just spinning on the tyres to get started. And Moore taking control early on here. Presley's had a good start. I'm just seeing him slightly ahead of Aidan Young on the run down to turn 1. As Presley's going to be on the inside of that battle for 3rd, but Young swoops right around the outside. And the repeat of what Schnabel did in race 1, and Ritson just coming back and having to, well, just check up there as Presley just getting in his way early on. But this is not battle done, this battle for 3rd between Young and Presley, because Young is coming under attack from Presley, who had a bit of a look through Renault. Backs out of it, elects not to do it into Repsol, but that just means that Young is 1 wide. He's had a big twitch in the middle of Repsol as we come down into Sayre now. Presley just not able to capitalise, but it's happening all a bit further on. Kaiback's had a good start. He's up 2 places. Bell, the other pro driver, he's up 3. They're 8th and 9th respectively. And while Kaiback now just up the inside of Spence, and it's close as Bell trying to follow him through. Can't get the move done. Has to back out of it. Spence is now out of the automatic transfer spots. He's down into 8. Still have Lauritsen and Russell from AM in those as we come out of camps down to Lucaxia here, and you can see Spence is under a lot of pressure, a lot of trouble as Bell sneaks his way through on the inside there. Great little move, and even to be fair, Poggy almost trying to follow him through, can't get it done, it's a bit too far back. And well, Bell needs to make a bit of time here, Aaron, as well, just fought in the background. Oh, Presley's going very, very slow.
Yeah, and all going very much over that final curb. And I think he might have picked up a slowdown somewhere. I can't see any damage.
Oh, he's not the only one.
Yeah, they're all going a bit slow. Lauritsen. I don't know what happened to him. That looked like a mistake around the final corner. It's all happening in this heat race. And it means Russell now is fighting for 4th place. And that's very aggressive defending by, I believe that's Bell into turn 1 it is, as Kaiback follows him through, and Russell losing 2 places in the space of about 10 seconds. And now it's Spence and Russell fighting it out for the last few positions that go into the final. And of course the fight for the AM victory. And I think Russell is in a little bit better place right now. Spence obviously struggling on that opening lap, but benefiting from a few people's mistakes and is just about hanging on.
Just about, I think that according to our event logger, Presley came off track, and I think that's what sort of started it all off, where he had to try and burn through that slowdown. It's going incredibly slowly, and well, that caused the whole field to check up and really shook things up. Lauritsen, who probably wouldn't be your favourite AM driver to make it through, he's all the way down to the back of the field. However, Bell, who started at the back, he's up into 4th. A great opening couple of laps for him. Yeah, the Brit, wow, up 8 places, incredible. Kaiback too, he's up 5 into 5th. As our top 3 there as close as like, unaware of what's been going on behind them. And more leads from Bergerson, Young in 3rd, and interesting to see whether these 3 play it nicely, play it safe, and not want to make a mistake. We've seen it numerous times. Who could forget? Well, certainly the final at Virginia International Raceway, where the top 3 ended up taking each other out, allowing 4th place at the time as we came down the back straight. Karazambra to take the victory, but Young looking aggressive here up the inside of Bergson. This is surely going to be a change for second place. And Moore hold on to first, but they're still side by side as Bergson just keeps his nose in there, fully committed on the outside and holds on to it. And that outside line seems to be the OP line, doesn't it, into turn 1, Aaron?
Yeah, it kind of puts you in a good spot for turn 2, and if you can get a good run into turn 2, carry as much speed as you can, cut your opponent off, it allows you to pull away so they can't really get a nose in into turn 3, which I think is what a lot of drivers are doing. And yeah, the outside line working well, and that's Spence looking up the inside of Russell, and this is the view from Tom Poggy, who has a good view of these two battling up ahead. And Poggy now again has to play it smart. Does he get involved in this battle, or does he allow these two to battle and push and possibly make contact and make mistakes, and Poggy will just sweep on through? But you can tell Russell is pushing the limit of that Formula 4 car up ahead.
You said about, you know, I was thinking, oh, there you go, mistake from Russell, and this could allow by Spence and Poggy through. No, Spence has checks up, allows him to keep it, but Spence dives in and just about managed to cover things up as we head through towards this last little clunky complex of corners. And Poggy looking very much the aggressor all over the back of Spence and Russell, and moves to the inside. Has Spence seen him? Yes, he has, and he's going to sneak his way through. Poggy's going to be up into 7th as he picks up the slipstream from Russell as they move across to the right-hand side of the track. And who's going to move left? Well, Poggy's just about holding on to this when he moves to that OP line that we've seen so many people get the moves done right around the outside into turn 1. Russell dives in deep, and that forces Poggy wide. They nearly come to blows there. Spence unable to capitalise. And wow, I'm amazed that Poggy didn't manage to sneak that one off. But I'll tell you what, Spence is looking incredibly racy despite dropping down to 8th. I mean, he knows that there's 3 cars, and there's only 2 of them that can get straight through into the final.
Yeah, I mean, of course, Spence is leading the championship, so he definitely has that on his mind. He needs every point that he can get if he wants to keep up this consistency, which, of course, means finishing ahead of these two. But Poggy is looking very, very racy and is trying to sneak away past Russell any way he can. But through this middle sector, not really any opportunity until right about now. And into turn 9, he's going to try and sneak a nose up the inside of Russell, and just can't get it done. And wow, Spence nearly clipping his front wing on the back of Poggy as they go into turn 10 now, heavy braking into this hairpin. Poggy goes deep and Spence tries to get a cutback but can't quite do it. I think Russell had a bad exit as well, which is allowing Poggy to keep on the back of the diffuser of that Formula 4 car. And this is an absolutely terrific battle. This is the one to watch for this race, and make sure you guys tune in for the whole of this heat race. It's going to be absolutely fascinating how this one ends. They all seem to be absolutely on nose to tail, nothing between them. Slipstream, of course, being a big factor. But yeah, I think we've had a change for the lead as well, actually. There's been a few changes up front. But yeah, this is going to be the battle to watch, I think, for now. As of course, this is where you get into the A final.
It is, and Spence, the only car out of those 3, missing out right now. Our top 3, they have spaced out a little bit. Young came off track, and I think that's what was a little bit of a shuffle around between himself and Bergson, although Young is ahead of the Swede. So, change a little bit up front, whereas Bell and Kaibach all scrapping away over 4th and 5th. We've got essentially 3 key battles going on right now. That battle for 2nd. This battle you can see right now for 4th on your screens, and of course that epic battle that we've been following over 6th place. As here they are. Spence just falling away a little bit right now as Russell and Poggy just start to open up. And it's, I mean, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because you want to lead this group, because that means you've got at least 1 car between yourself and not making it straight through into the final. However, you are a bit vulnerable coming into turn 1 as well. It's a tricky conundrum to play out as Russell runs it in deep. Poggy comes alongside, although he's going to have to dip out of it. They almost make contact there. and Poggy, just the Frenchman, just manages to avoid about by the slimmest of the margins. He's looking the stronger in these three. And Spence is just starting to fall away a little bit as they're going to take the white flag when they come across the line. And this is the trouble with Barcelona. Although, you know, it looks like you've got plenty of time left, you've got limited opportunities because it's such a long lap around here as Russell goes defensive. The Frenchman Poggy moves to driver's left of Russell. Spence again that little bit too far back, and can Poggy get the move done right around the outside like we saw Schnabel in the first heat as he looms down and lunges in, and it's got the move done. And is Russell potentially going to lose this place to Spence, who's going to carry much more speed through this complex of corners as they round Renault for the final time in Heat 2. And Spence is all over the back of Russell. Russell has to go defensive once again as we come down through Repsol. And this is going to be a key opportunity. Down into Sayre, can Spence make the lunge? Or is he going to sit there? No, he elects to sit there. He's got Lucaxia, that is his other main opportunity. Other than that, it's a scramble to the line of who's going to take it, who's going to make it through. And well, I think, Aaron, it's advantage Poggy right now.
Yeah, I'd say that Poggy, we know, has really, really good pace, as we saw in Montreal. But while we've been watching that, we have not been paying attention to this battle for second place and fourth as well. These pros really getting really racy as James Bell really pushing the limits of wheel-to-wheel racing. He's getting so close to Kaibak's front wing. He's really praying to the iRacing netcode gods right now that nothing happens. But I think Bell is just about going to hang on. And Amor as well, going to hang on to that first place. And in the background, you can just about see that they're going to come across the line. Nothing between these two, but Bergerson just about wins that battle for second place, and Bell wins the battle for fourth. They are going to be happy with that. And Russell being the last driver that makes it through into the final. And I think Spence will be kicking himself that he didn't make it through. I think Spence does just lack that pace that he needs this week, just a tiny bit, and it's more like a 10th a lap, but it's enough to ruin your race. But yeah, wow, what an end to the race. Good battles up and down the grid.
Well, this scrap over last place, well, penultimate place, as Presley and Lauritsen, of course, had those two big slowdowns early on. Really cost those two and really shook things up at the front. Hadn't been for them, then, well, having their issues, we would not have seen Poggy and Russell make their way through automatically into the final. But here we are for the B1 Consolation final. Balcon starts on pole with Spence alongside him. Then it's Weisercore, who narrowly missed out in Heat 1. He starts on the second row with fellow Eastern European Toff. Ponio, another of the pros here, starts alongside Nick Pollard in row 3. Row 4 is Jay Walsh and Cadence Presley. He definitely has had pace today, but well, there's going to be a lot of big names missing out because Klist and Lauritsen make up your final row and your top 10, because only one driver is going to make this through here. One. And I don't know, well, there's going to be a lot of upset drivers. I mean, we've got 3 pros for starters. Spence, your leader in AM. Lauritsen, who's been incredibly quick all season. Who's going to make it through? Here come the lights. Let's get ready to go racing in the B final as we are green, we are away, and who's going to win this one? And Balkan, well, making a pretty even start with Spence there. So we race down towards turn 1. Spence is on the inside. Don't discredit Weisercore in the 147 machine there, just having a look at the middle. Presley storming down through into turn 1 in the background there, but Balkan's got it as Spence just checks the field up there. Weisercore having to take evasive action. Well, our top 3 now all starting to spread out, but then clump up together once again. Lauritsen's had a good start. He's at 5 places, trying to give himself a greatest possible shot at making this final, or at least securing a decent finish here in the B final. This top just ahead of him there in the 229, and Weisercore has a lunge up the inside of Spence. Do you think he's going to get that move done? No, Spence instantly able to fight back, where Weisercore locked up at the pole on the outside. Drivers right of Spence as they're still side by side. Spence backs out of it, and this is just allowing Balkan to gallop away up on the field. And he has got some, around about 8 tenths clear of everyone else as they're all spread out. That battle in the midfield intensifying, and there's Lauritzen got another slowdown. It looks that way. Presley up the inside, a big lunging, makes contact there with Spence.
Yeah, I think that was just lack of concentration from Presley, and there's a big crash. That's Caponio. That's a four-car pileup. Presley, Clist, Walsh, Caponio, all involved in that, as you can see. Jay Walsh without a rear wing. And oh my word, that has shaken things up once again in this race. And yeah, just about that slowdown with Lauritzen, I think that was incredibly naughty from Toth. He left him absolutely no room on the outside. And I think there might be some words after the race, but they're still battling. And meanwhile, we're watching this. Weizsäcker is fighting for the lead up ahead, and he is in the lead as we head into turn 1. And I think Toth is just losing out this battle as Lauritzen gets up into 4th place. But that gap, Lauritzen to 1st, is still quite big. It's around 5-ish seconds. And he's got a lot of ground to make up. But these two still going side by side through turn 3. Toth and Polliard battling it out for 5th place in this Consolation. Toth getting very, very close to Polliard, but Toth just eventually manages to slip ahead. But of course, these guys will be rather hoping that they can get a bit further up than this, as 5th place in the end doesn't really result in much other than a few points. But this is the replay from what actually happened. I think we were watching this as well. Into turn 9, yeah, Toth just didn't leave Lauritzen any room on the outside whatsoever. Don't know if it was just lap 1 understeer, but yeah, I think Lauritsen's going to be fairly miffed with that.
I mean, he wasn't to know what was about to happen up in front of him. The symphony of chaos that ensued, cars left, right, centre, and well, Lauritzen made it through, did the Dane. Some great evasive action from him there, and then went from, in the space of what? One complex of corners, went from last to 4th.
Yeah, he'd just about managed to squeeze through that whole complex. And yeah, I think pretty much every single driver into that hairpin made some kind of mistake, apart from the top 2 drivers at the moment, Balakan and Weizsäcker. I think everyone else either went too deep or just didn't avoid that accident well enough. But here is Lauritzen moving up another place again. Spence not really having the best pace around here. He goes into turn 1, and look how much later on the brakes Lauritzen was. Don't know if that was Spence just making Lauritsen's overtake a little bit easier. But these are the different lines that these two are taking. You saw Lauritzen take a wide entry and focusing on getting that good exit, while Spence sort of pinched himself on the inside and kind of had to get out of the throttle in the middle of the corner, resulting in quite a lower mid-corner speed. And well, this is the difference between winning and losing sometimes. If you don't have the pace, even if you are extremely consistent, you've got to have some kind of pace if you want to win a championship. And at least today, oh, that's a near fatal mistake from Lauritzen into turn 8. But yeah, Spence, I don't think this is one of his stronger tracks, but again, if he can keep it out of the wall, he'll be fine. And that's Presley finally giving up the ghost and pulling off the track. I think he had too much damage from that lap 1 opening crash, but I think Lauritzen at the moment is the favourite to win this race, but he's got a lot of ground to make up over the next 9 minutes.
He has indeed. He has indeed, and well, I need a little bit of racing luck on his side right now. So that's the initial pace that Spencer showed. Lauritzen start to pull away. Of course, he was a strong qualifier, real missed opportunity for the Dane here in Spain. Last time around, fastest lap of the race of Weizsäcker, extending that gap out in front. As you mentioned, Aaron, some 6 seconds clear of Lauritzen, currently in 3rd. Time on his side, of course, slightly longer race here in the B final, 14 minutes. Instead of the 10 that we saw in each of the respective heats. But even so, I mean, that's like a second per minute that Lauritzen needs to make up, and not being disrespectful to him, I don't think he's got that pace within him. I mean, that's a large chunk of pace, and that will need numerous mistakes from our leader for Luritzen to make up that time, and that's a side of. I mean, Balkan's probably his closest rival, but even then, Vasco's getting away from Balkan, so it's not like I'm going to see maybe second first start battling, and that's going to allow Luritzen to catch up. I think, you know, just needs to play this safely and bring this one home and get himself into the final, just Vizicor.
Yeah, he doesn't really need to push, but I mean, hey, maybe he's not pushing. Maybe he is just that little bit better than a lot of the other people in here. As he's pretty much the only pro now that's in contention, as Caponio, of course, is a minute and a quarter down, and Presley is out of the race. So, yeah, the pros in the Consolation don't really seem to have the best of luck unless you're in first place. So, yeah, I don't think Balakan quite has the pace to keep up. He's going to be a little bit annoyed that it's not the top 4 spots going through, and it is only just first place going through. But, yeah, nevertheless, Luritzen, I mean, I did say he was the favourite to win this race, but looking on that now, 7 seconds pretty much to make up is, yeah, probably not possible in 7 minutes. No. So, well, unless a big mistake. But,
he was 3 tenths slower last time around as well, Aaron, than Balkan as well. So it's not even like he's catching up on second place, and will at least finish top of the AMs in the B final. It's actually losing time, losing a gap to Balkan. So I think we're pretty much in for the ride here. So we've got 8 minutes on the clock, so we've got 6 minutes left remaining here in the B final. Oh wow, that was a bit dicing with death there. You can see the bicycle, he's still pushing despite being 2.8 seconds clear. He doesn't need to do this, because one mistake and that's going to be race ending for him.
Yeah, I think I said this a few weeks ago actually in the B final, that if you are a pro, or at least you know, a rank or two above the AMs, it's kind of a statement that you want to put on the rest of the field. You want to bring that gap as far ahead as you can and basically just say to everyone, I shouldn't be here, and you know, this is me showing that I shouldn't be here by winning by X amount of seconds. And you know, it is a good feeling, and I can sympathise with him.
Since the start of the session, iRacing decided to play, which I did think Sam Fitzpatrick, the league organiser for this series, the Apex Racing Academy Formula 4 Championship, was being incredibly tight, with only allowing the top 1 position through. Well, iRacing decided to clearly have a bit of a moment. It's actually top 4. So we will see Balkan, Luritzen and Spence through. Which changes the dynamic a little bit right now, as we're trying to impress upon you, obviously, the importance of, you know, Vizicor just playing it safe. I mean, based on that, I mean, you can have a good old spin a couple of times, and Nick Polliard is currently lying in 5th, will only just about be on the back of him. Well, pretty much 14 seconds is the gap between Polliard, the American F4RT. Very cleverly done that one. I think Toff's had a bit of an incident now on track, the Hungarian. Having the best of races, and he's dropped well down now. I mean, there was a big old gap between himself and Polliard. It's now out to somewhat 23 seconds. Let's take a look at how this happened. Now he's coming down into Lucaxia, so I think he's going to lose the rear here. That's my prediction.
Yeah,
not as much as I thought. I thought he was going to go full 180.
Yeah, he sort of locked up into that hairpin and tried to compensate it with a good exit, but just thunder throttled it, as Austin used to say. Too much mustard, of course. And yeah, just not had the best of races, as we saw him going side by side with Polliard and Luritzen at the start of this race. And yeah, I don't think he's having the best of days at the moment. But, you know, 6th place, there's still some points. You could say it's a consolation for his awful day.
I love it. I absolutely love it, Aaron. You know, I love a horrific pun. Well, bit of a mention to one of our sponsors for this series. Well, of course, the title sponsor, Apex Racing Academy. Setups, data packs, track guides, road and oval racing. If you want to go faster out on track, make sure you can check those guys out. Incredibly great sessions from some of the top pros within sim racing. also their weekly group coaching sessions, and also to provide one-on-one coaching sessions as well if you want to go faster and improve your experience. Certainly not like J.A. Walsh is experiencing now, a bit of a over-rotation of the rear, and that's going to be rear tires cooked to within an inch of their life. Let's get Apex Racing Academy. Make sure you check those guys out just in this quiet period, and also see them in the top right corner now. SDK Gaming, one of the most accurate live timing software on iRacing. You know, you can also utilise it for broadcasting your leagues, where you can hook your commentators up with the director so everyone sees exactly the same image at the same time, all synchronized with replays. Also, to help you out on track with, of course, the accurate fuel calculator, great for strategy during the big enduros and the special events that we see on iRacing, and also good for oval racing as well. There's all those full course yellows, of course, you don't get to experience those in iRacing. I wonder if they'll ever come. It'll be an interesting one. Probably coming around the same time as rain eventually. But make sure you check out SDK Gaming, and also 14-day free trial as well. Definitely worth checking out that one. Definitely. And well, as we've got 1.5 minutes left, so they're going to be. I'm not too sure where. I think they're on their penultimate wrap right now. I'm not looking at the clock versus where Visacor is. Who is our leader? Balkan second, Laritzen, Spence third and fourth, respectively. That's the automatic transfer spots. Hollyard fifth, Toff, Plist, Walsh, Caponio, Presley has retired and lost. Cadence all the way back on lap 2, currently now on to lap 7. So we tick through into the final minute, and well, Visacor just blinked out massively my end there. I had a complete panic that he disconnected from the session. I'm not sure I could take that, Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, he's put on a good performance, and yeah, I think he's just having some internet issues right now, and let's hope he is able to stay on the track and iRacing doesn't just boot him off, as I've been on the receiving end of that a few times, where you're blinking quite a bit and iRacing just decides, you know what, the bugger off. You know, we're just going to kick you out the session because we can. And I think there's Walsh, who just made a mistake in front and has pulled into the pits and has given up. But yeah, I think this is going to be the final lap. He's got 10 seconds to get to that final few corners. And as he comes round this horrible last chicane that's finally going this year, he comes around the final corner to win this Consolation. Didn't really have any competition after he took the lead, and has won 5 seconds ahead of anyone else. And Balkan putting in a good performance as well for Am into second place, and Laritzen as well put on a really good performance from last. And Spence, I think he'd be rather disappointed after that one, but I think if what you're saying is true, Tim, he does still make it through, but yeah, Spence, the pace isn't looking very good and will start last in the feature race.
I seem to remember him saying that he hadn't really tried this track too much, so I think that's probably playing a large part for the American. Oh, Laritzen, what a yo-yo race. Had that cracking start, made up a lot of places, then got that slowdown, fell all the way to the back of the field, then there was that big incident in front of him, which allowed him go from last then, within the space of, what, 2 corners through, well, Lukaxi, and then obviously where it then tightens up again. So you could technically class it as 1 corner, really. Went from last to 4th, then over to Spence. A lovely little move, and well, they played it safe, and maybe a bit of ailment of Spence thinking about, do you know what, I'm going to be starting the last row if I finish 3rd or 4th, so let's just play it safe, let him pass, he's clearly quicker, let him go away, and then I know I've got a big gap to Nick Polliard in 5th, who sadly just misses out there. You see Caponio here, the last driver going to be across the line, the pro. Does not make it through, neither does Presley, so we lose 2 pros here at Barcelona. Did not make it through to the final. Really not helping in their point situation whatsoever. As we head across into the warm-up now. Wow. Calm before the storm, I think, Aaron.
Yeah, that's the best way to describe this warm-up. I remember the warm-up session when I did this league previously in F3. The warm-up session was quite literally just a breather to maybe go for a bathroom break, maybe have a sip of water, and just to calm down after the chaos that's just happened in your previous 1 or 2 races. And yeah, it is a really nice break to just have a couple minutes just to chill. If you're with your team, just have a chat and just maybe reflect on how your racing has gone so far. And yeah, I think it's good that we have this warm up in this time slot, as it just gets the drivers prepared for the onslaught that is the feature race. And yeah, it is a really good idea, and I'm glad that this warm up exists, and I think more leagues should follow suit, in my opinion.
Definitely, it's always entertaining, isn't it? The heat format, as you know, you say it's always great racing. Of course, we have it in the Porsche Cup Series as well on Apex Racing TV. Great racing we see within that. Some absolutely fierce competitive battles. We see no difference here whatsoever in the Apex Racing Academy Formula 4 Championship, and if you want to see more great racing, certainly the single seat variety, make sure you stay tuned, because about an hour after this broadcast finishes, so let's get my calculator and let's have a quick look. So it all melds into one. There we go, at 22:45 BST, we have, of course, Formula Renault 3.5. Make sure you tune in for that one, because that's always epic wheel-to-wheel racing, no different to what you see here. And of course, tomorrow night we've got the Weekend Warriors Formula Ford Championship, new series here to Apex Racing TV, and a new series in general. As we finished this point last week, and we saw some absolutely fascinating action in those. They're great fun to drive. Of course, the new car to iRacing for. We then see an hour after they finish at around about 8 o'clock on Sunday night BSC is the SRF Weekend Warriors, where big grids, big action. I mean, the small grid for those guys is 45, and that's really, like, you have to wonder what's happened. It's great wheel-to-wheel action and some epic battling, bit of strategy too, so they push their cars to the limits. We've got a few seconds left. Who's your favourite coming into this one? Put your money on the table, Aaron. Come on.
That is a difficult one.
Well, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Zambra. I think he's looked incredible all week. When is he top qualifier as well? Yeah, when is he a canter? I think he's got to be hard not to be the favourite here.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you. I don't think anyone's gonna be able to take it to him.
Let's find out. Here is your grid. Zambra starts on pole with Daniel Moore, Heat 2 winner, lining up alongside him on the front row. Kamala and Bergson make up a all-Scandinavian row 2, sorry, with Schnabel and Young on the third row of the grid. Row 4 sees Rancho lining up alongside Bell, with top AM driver Tom Minot starting from 9th. Kaibak joining him on the 5th row to round out your top 10. Archie Heron has got Tom Poggi for company, the flying Frenchman. On the 6th row, row 7 is Kirk and Russell, the all-British row, with Visacore and Balkan making it row 8, and row 9 being Laritzen and Spence. Some incredibly quick drivers from the back there. I think, although Minot starts ahead in AM, I think Poggy's going to be the one to watch out for. Don't discredit Laritzen either. But here come the lights. Let's find out what happens here in the final from Barcelona, as we are green and we are away racing. Who's going to take the victory? Well, Zambra learning from last time's mistake, as we saw when Schnabel swoop around the outside into turn 1 and covers that one off instantly, leaving Moore and Kamala side by side, wheel to wheel. Bergson has a lunge up the inside of Schnabel there in the battle for 4th. And I think everyone all know there's been a crash further down through the background. I think Russell and Kirk go up in that one. Oh no, that's why not.
Oh, wow. that's 4 cars, I think, out of this race. That's Aiden Young. That is big for the Pro Championship.
There's two more ahead.
That's Schnabel and Bell, I think. I'm not quite sure who else is involved. That's Kirk.
And the slowing car on the outside there, and that was Poggy going slow as he was clearly wounded, and Kaibak just drove straight into the back of him. What is
Oh
going
my
on here at the
word.
start? And all while this is going on, Garrett Spence from the back of the grid is up 11 slots into a 7th. I mean, let's just try and process this one down into turn 1. It was always going to be tight, but there was. So there you go. There's the initial contact between Russell and, well, sorry, Laritza caught up in that furthermore too. And then it was, well, our producer Samuli can't even keep up with it. It was happening so thick and fast. So Tom Moy not there. Watch for him in the middle in that 291 car. Gets turned. Right, so that's one of them. I mean, I just didn't quite catch how Aiden Young got caught up in all that. I mean,
I think Aiden Young backed out, or he sort of rolled back onto the racing line.
Oh no, he had contact and sent him spinning. That's why. So this is what happened between Schneeber. Oh wow, that's a big contact and a big impact.
Yeah, that is absolute chaos on this opening lap. And
watch us. This is Kai back. We're gonna ride on board with him. There's Poggy going incredibly slow. You can see it.
I just think he wasn't paying attention.
I mean, talk about a brain fart moment. I mean, Kai back there. And, well, we've got, well, out of 18 starters, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 cars in pit lane currently. And we're only just out onto lap 2. I mean, wow. Wow. I mean, we've seen drama, but it normally comes right at the end, Aaron. This week, no, let's get it all done and dusted in the first couple of corners.
Yeah, someone's going to have an absolute field day deciding all the penalties for next week. Once again, Sam cannot catch a break, can he? Just every single week, there's always a big pile-up, and yeah, we're not disappointed again in the feature, as there was about 3 different pile-ups in the space of about 10 seconds. And yeah, both championships taking massive hits. And yeah, I mean, we had the likes of Minot and Laritson and Russell, who had big coming together, and Poggy in the AM Championship, and of course in Pro, Schnabel, Young, Bell, and Kaibak, all drivers right up there in the championship. And Zambra, if he can hold on to the lead, is gonna run away with the championship at the moment, and he's gonna be laughing all the way to the bank.
So we've crossed all. Now, I've just spotted ahead. Aiden Young has come out the pit, so he's going to be getting up to speed while our top 4 come through. I think it might take a little bit of time to catch him. Of course, we know Young has got some decent pace. Caught up, of course, right where you see right now on the opening lap, and it's fallen all the way down 9 spots to 15. Oh, Garrett Spence, looking like he's showing no pace whatsoever, then a big incident, avoids it all, starting from the back of the grid, up into 7th, up 11 spots. Wow, I don't think he will have ever spent that, and he's also now leading in AM as well. As times as you like between our top 4, so Stewart just dropped a little bit off. Of course, he was one of the drivers who had to check out. Wow, I mean, surely look at their relatives, and of course if they're using SDK Gaming, they will have seen the amount of drivers heading into the pits, or their names grayed out where they just jumped there. This top 4 must be wondering what has happened behind us. And they are pretty much close. I mean, I was expecting Zambra maybe to open up a bit more of a gap in these opening stages, but it's only half a second now, Ron. And then Kamala backwards to Bergerson, pretty much nose to tail, and as they start, it's only Kamala and Amor who've swapped places.
Yeah, I think Zambra does have the edge on these guys in terms of pace, but the only thing keeping Kamala in contention right now is that slipstream, and I think down this straight he's going to be getting a massive bit of it, and it's going to give him about 0.2 of a second down this main straight, but he's going to be under pressure from Amor behind. Actually, I think Amor is playing the safe game and just giving Kamala a bit of a push to try and catch back up to Zambra, as, yeah, that slipstream around this circuit is very important, but slipstream in this cars isn't too big of a boost, depending on what kind of downforce setup you're running, but yeah, it only gives you a tiny boost compared to the likes of Formula 1 or Formula 3, where downforce levels are a lot higher and drag levels are a lot more higher. But yeah, Zambra, I think if he can just get away, and I'm talking maybe around 6 or 7 tenths of a second coming around the final corner, I think it will be enough to just about nudge him away from this pack, but we'll find out.
Ooh, getting a bit Larry there to Kamala, just slightly offline where you see how hard he is pushing right now as he came through Worth. Makes out leading of this train of 3, or does he for now as more? Looks at the inside and into Lucaxia. That's going to be the move turn. The Brit up into second, back to where he started. And these three can see how Zambra's opening up that gap. He's opened out of an additional 2 tenths since the start of this lap as the Swiss driver. As they head through the chicane complex, through into New Holland. Across the line, I think Zambra's taken an additional 10 out of these guys. Now it's a nearly 8 tenths of a second. But, I mean, interesting, you know, Young didn't pose up. Yeah, I thought he might bunch these guys up a little bit more, but, I mean, it's tricky, isn't it? It's, at times, letting one or two, a couple of cars pass. When you've got a train of 4 coming through, it's even more so tricky.
I think lapped traffic on that last lap also played quite a big factor, as I think Zambra got the slipstream from Young as well, coming down that main straight, which helped him get away even more than he already is. And excuse me, had a bit of an issue there, but Amor, even though I think it's difficult to say out of Amor, Kamala and Bergerson who is the quickest, as they're all kind of setting the same sort of pace. I think Amor might just have the edge at the moment, as he is keeping tabs with Zambra a little bit better than Kamala was and making a few less mistakes. But I think either way, I think Zambra's got this one in the bag, as he's just getting further and further away every single lap.
Well, let's just take a bit of stock here as we reach 8 minutes of this race. In the final from Barcelona of the Apex Racing Academy F4 Championship. Well, still not done and dusted here as Lorentzen and Minor as well, getting incredibly close. They've been trading places left, right and centre. And Lorentzen comes back up the inside of Minot. Can't get the move done there. It was opportunistic through Kamsa. This is the better one. Down in Lucaxia, onto the brakes. Minot defensive early on. And Lorentzen knows he's going to look for the switchback and pulls his car right alongside. Gets a bit squirrely on the exit. That might have just hampered his chances. And Minot holds on to it. So he heads towards Europa car. Surely this is going to be Lorentzen. It's turn 1. On the brakes. Done and dusted. I think this is only if, so when, not if, he makes it past Minot.
Yeah, and remember, this is for championship, of course, and these guys have been relatively samey on pace throughout the whole of this season so far, but I think Lorentzen around the Barcelona circuit has had the edge over Minot, but Minot ain't going to give this one up easily. Lorentzen tries to go around the outside, and he's going to stick a nose up into turn 2, but I think he just went a bit too wide and a bit too deep into turn 1. Which kind of compromised his outside line and allowed Minot to keep that 10th place for now. But this is for the last podium spot in the AM category, as we've had a change for, I believe this is, for the podium positions, as Amor went incredibly deep into that hairpin. I think he might have tried to go for a move on Kamala, actually, and completely messed it up. And Kamala seeming unfazed. And actually, wait, I think... excuse me, I think Amor was actually ahead. Yeah, he was. And just made a mistake. And that's Ferguson riding those sausage curbs. But yeah, somehow that gap between second and first is still around 6 tenths of a second. But
well, it's dropped actually, because Zambra had eked it out to about 7, nearly 8 tenths in fact, 2 laps ago. And now it's dropped to, well, you can see how close it is. About half a second. Kamala has managed to reduce it down, and well, As before, we want to see Zambra just, once he'd opened up that gap, get ahead and head off into the distance. It hasn't quite worked out that way here in Catalonia. I mean, it's gutting we haven't got the likes, I mean, Hampshire and Heron in with this fight, because that incident early on just really opened up these bit, well, I say incidents would be a better way of describing it. Well, they all happened pretty much at the same time. It's really opened up some gaps here. I mean, Zemstra 5 seconds down on our top 4. So that is Poggy just moving out of the way there.
And my not going side by side again. I was just watching the timing screens and just noticed these guys fighting again. And yeah, sorry to cut in there, Tim, but just a little bit of exciting action going on the track right now as Luritsen's still trying to find his way past Minot. But I think Minot just has the edge with his defensive skills at the moment. It is fairly simple to defend around here, and especially in these lower speed Formula cars, that Luritsen is having a big challenge trying to get past the British driver. And well, Minot is going to be defending hard into almost every corner, which Luritsen pretty much knows, and he can work his way around that by possibly selling Minot a dummy move and forcing him into a mistake. But this is actually the move for the lead, as Kamala has caught up to Zambra massively and is now alongside Zambra as they head into turn 1. Who's going to be braver on the brakes? It's going to be Kamala just about, and Bergerson now trying to get involved, and Amor trying to go around the outside of Bergerson, and all the top 4 cars separated by about 0.4 of a second.
Right aboard with Amor, that is Bergson going defense to the inside. Zambra moves right round, trying to go the long way round. Kamala knows if he can just keep his nose in there. He'll have a chance down into Saya, onto the brakes to reclaim the lead, and he gets the move done. And Bergson could slip through cheekily as well, as Kamala now scrambling for traction on the outside of the corner. Squeezes Bergson, but it's all to no avail. As the Swede up into second in the space of what? Quarter of a lap. Kamala goes from first down to third. What is going to happen down to Lukaxia? Onto the brakes. Is anyone going to be bold? Is anyone going to be brave? Bergson has a look up the inside of Zambra and gets the move done. And there's contact.
They're round. Zambra's round, I think. They're all round.
They are indeed, and Kamala caught up in it too. And Zambra goes from first to fourth in the blink of an eye. He will not be impressed by that one whatsoever. Let's take a look at the replay.
He just as soon as we cut to the replay, I saw him spin off as well. I'm not sure if he actually crashed in that spin that he had. We'll obviously know when we cut back. But yeah, this battling was incredibly close until, yeah, we had that big send. As we now come up to turn 9, it was absolutely nothing between these guys. They're pushing the limits of these Formula cars. And I think Bergerson, as we come now into this hairpin, is going to be extremely late on the brakes. I think, in my opinion, a little bit too late. Yeah. Now, actually, he got the move done fairly, but I think, yeah, Kamala wasn't expecting Zambra to have such a poor exit. And yeah, they both have massive damage. Kamala with front wing. I think Zambra has front wing and suspension damage. And yeah, as we come into this corner, getting really loose, getting on that curb and spinning off, but actually managing to do a full 360 and keep it on the track. But he's got big damage and is now fighting Zwemstra for 5th place. But I think he's going to have to give it up. He has a compromised car, and if he was a gentleman racer, he would just let Zwemstra pass, as you can see how twitchy his car is now, as he has no front downforce, and I think he does have a little bit of suspension damage. Let's see. And I think he might be fine on suspension wise, actually, as coming down this straight he is going in a straight line. But there's Zwemstra trying to go around the outside, but just had to back out of it. But wow, this race has flipped on its head in a matter of a lap.
It has, and we've only got what 2.5 minutes remaining, and Bergson is going to lead as we come out onto lap 10. This 18-minute race, and well, we've had it all in absolute abundance. And it's essentially a two-way fight for victory here in Spain. Will it be Bergson? Will it be Moore? Moore sucked up. He's going to lunge up the inside, or is he? No, he backs out of it. Is he biding his time, the Brit here? Are just turning up the pressure, intensifying the heat on the Swede, Bergson. To be round Renault. The run-up to Repsol. Wow, you see just in the background, that is actually, in fact, actually, that is Aidan Young, isn't it? Who is basically a lap, well, he is a lap down. And, well, so I'm sure, amazingly, not able to get past Zambra despite him clearly lacking front-end grip from that contact they had with Kamala, who, well, sent it in and, well, trying to follow Bergson through. Could not then end up making contact with the Swiss driver. Heron did get past Zambra, though. So Heron now up to 4th. He's in a great race, up 7. Spence still your winner in Am. He's up 11 places, of course, aided by, wow, the chaos, the melee of chaos that happened in the opening, what, 2 corners here in the final. Sived his way through, and that's Semsha going to come right around the outside. Zambra, ooh, no, and they almost trip over one another. And Zambra runs it in too deep, and surely this is going to allow Semsha to come right through, but it's hard to get the move done right around the outside. But he does have a front-end grip advantage, and that shows here, as that is Semsha ahead. Oh, or is it? Because Zambra fights it back. Oh, no, and you could feel something brewing. And Zambra comes on worse yet again, an insane complex of corners. They had an issue with, what, was it last lap or the previous lap to that? It's all happened.
Yes, it's really kicking off. I think frustration kicked in for Zambra as he was racing a lot harder than he was for the lead, admittedly. And yeah, I think he's just frustrated and was also quite desperate to stay ahead of Zambra. As of course he is leading the championship at the moment, but I don't think he will after this race. We'll find out, of course. But this is white flag. This is for the lead. This is the final lap. This is the battle to watch for the lead. Only 0.3 of a second separates them. And Moore pretty much only has one more opportunity down into turn 10. The hairpin, heavy braking. He's just got to stay within a few tenths of Bergerson. And it's going to be a challenge. But can the Brit do it? He's lost a few tenths around those final corners that we were just going through into turn 9. Now he's lost another about half a tenth, and he's just too far back. And he has the slipstream, but it's not going to be enough. And actually, I think track position is more important around here, which is why I quite don't understand why Moore didn't go for the move when he had the opportunity to, I think, around a lap or 2 ago. But nevertheless, Bergerson has put on a good and consistent performance. Of course, making that lunge for the lead just a few laps ago on Zambra ended with a disaster for Zambra. But as Bergerson rounds the final corner, the Swede is going to take victory here in Barcelona. A stunning performance by him. Moore will be a little bit miffed of second, but I think he'll be praying to the iRacing gods that he came away from that big incident scot-free. Kamala rounds off your podium. And Heron just a few seconds back from your top 3. But Spence coming across the line as well. An incredible performance from him. Last to 7th. And yeah, he's going to be super, super happy with that. I'm sure we'll have a chat with him once he gets into the interview booth. He wins in Am. Good performance from him. And it's good points for his championship. But Laritson as well, decent comeback from him after he had an opening lap crash. And he comes across the line in 3rd in Am and 10th overall. And it's a dent in his championship, though, compared to Spence, but it could have been bigger. But yeah, wow, Tim, that was another interesting feature race, to say the least.
You're not wrong there, Rowan. You're not wrong at all. So wait for the last couple of drivers to come across the line. There's Balkan, picks up 6th in class. I mean, we had an incredible showing. 7 AMs made it through to the final here from Barcelona. But wow, the weaving, the drifting from Bergson. Maybe his victory here today. Cracking race from the Swede. And after that incident, looked dominant. And as you said earlier, Aaron, Moore comes in behind, Bergson into turn 1, nose to tail. Didn't make the move, and I think he quite possibly could be ruining that. Missed opportunity for him. So we're just waiting for drivers to come across the line, then we can bring you through some classified results here. Here they are. Theodore Bergson taking victory here in a 1-2 for TNT Esports. His teammate Daniel Moore comes home in second, with Kamala rounding out the podium. Archie Heron picks up fourth with Zencha. Zambra in the end finishes sixth. Garrett Spence started from the back, finished seventh, and wins in a great victory for him today. An absolute haul of points to really help his championship aspirations. Vizicor, wow, he had to do it the hard way, coming through the B final as well to come home 8th. He was up 7 places. We didn't mention him all race long. He had an absolute cracker. So from the penultimate row of the grid, so a strong race from the pole, although being 7th in pro overall. Chris Kirk and Laritsen ran out your top 10. Laritsen up 7 places, of course started on the back row as well. Why not? In 11th, then Russell Balkan Young, who finished a lap down, likewise did Tom Poggi, and then into retirement we lost Schnabel, Bell and Kaibach, which is pretty amazing really, considering all the incidents that were happening. We were only in retirements, we lost those guys on the opening lap. Have a bit of a chat to some of our drivers, and I think first off we should have a chat to one of our podium sitters. It is Daniel Amore. Well, Daniel, congratulations. I mean, wow, it looks really tough when it was the group of 4 of you, with obviously Kamala and Zambra before they had their coming together. Just talk us through sort of your tactics, because you were sitting in second in that group for quite a fair chunk of the race.
Yeah, when I was running in second, I caught up to Zero, and I wasn't really aware of how bad the dirty air was, so I got myself a slowdown, which dropped me back to 4th in the pack. And then later in the race, so Victor, I've done like loads of races with him through like the week and stuff, and in previous months, and I've always known he's kind of been one to send a bit of a banzai move. So I kind of sat back and waited for that to happen, and I wasn't quite expecting what happened in the end between him and Zero, but I got quite lucky, managed to get past it and go second. I didn't bother really going for the win because I'm not in the championship, but the team is, and I just want Theodore to have that better chance of winning, really.
Well, that explains why, because we were talking about it in commentary. I think it was coming into the final lap. You were within a 10th of Theodore Bergerson, and down into turn 1, it looked like an easy move up the inside, completely on, but you elected to just throttle out and stick there. So that at least explains that one. I mean, after that, I mean, how do you avoid when you've got cars flying in? You were coming down into Lucaxia. You've got obviously Zambra and Kamala going at it, and then they make contact. In that moment, how do you react? Is it just purely instinct? Is it luck? Is it a bit of everything?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was a bit of luck. I came down the straight and I saw Victor, like the car language. I knew he was going to go for the move there, and it's actually a bit of a dodgy corner to go for a move because it's really easy to make a mistake on the brakes, and he might have done that or whatever. But I saw it kind of happen. I saw them both going wide, so I took a bit of a slower entrance, cut back in, and then the little bit of luck was that they didn't come left, but I was just fortunate enough to slide through and then follow my teammate.
Well, Stan Amore, congratulations. Second place.
Thank you very much.
It's today from Barcelona for TNT Esports. Aaron, who do you manage to have a bit of a chat with?
Well, I think, as tradition, I'm going to talk to Garrett Spence. Well, Garrett, you join us here back in the commentary booth for, I believe, the 3rd or 4th week in a row. And, well, after a not so good start to the day, it ended quite well. Just talk us through your feelings after a pretty up and down few races.
Yeah, just absolutely crazy. Felt pretty good in my heat, but didn't qualify too well. But had a fantastic battle. It was one of the more fun races I've had in a long time. And then the Consolation was just chaos. and I don't know how I survived that just absolute pile up. But then, yeah, I just got fortunate enough to stay out of the pits and get into the finals, and then I knew going into it how crazy it was likely to be, and so I didn't even really try to push on the start, and the seas opened before me, and I took, managed to sneak through, and can't complain.
Yeah, I mean that win in the feature race is going to be a big boost in your championship hopes. And well, if you're talking about massive pile-ups, that opening lap in the feature race, I mean, what was going through your head seeing cars flying left and right?
I'd have to go back to my stream and actually watch, because I think I said something, but it was just like, this isn't going to be good, and it wasn't. I mean, it was great for me, but everybody else, it's really frustrating. But after last weekend, having something similar happen to me, and feels a little vindication, but that's kind of just part of it. Sometimes these races really turn into wars of attrition.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that throughout the entirety of this season. But yeah, going into next week, do you think maybe you'll have a little bit better pace than you did round here? As it's no secret that you weren't completely on the pace this weekend, but I mean, you still won, so who really cares? But yeah, next week, do you think that you'll have a bit of a better week?
Yeah, I mean, I think every week I'm just learning more and more about how like the new model works, and especially with this car, you can kind of push it and find that limit. And I think I'm getting closer and closer to that. Before even practicing, I was 2.5 seconds off the pace, and then by the time we were doing qualifying, I was still second off the pace, but felt much more confident about it. So I think there's definitely an opportunity to continue this momentum.
Yeah, momentum is everything in a championship. And before you let you go, as usual, any final thoughts, any final words, anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, actually, I'd love to thank my mom, because she's absolutely helped us out in the last couple weeks, and she enjoys watching the VODs of this, and so hopefully this will make her smile.
Well, shout out to Garrett's mum. Yeah, you're an amazing mum, you're supporting your son. But yeah, been a pleasure, Garrett, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.
I think continuing the theme on, Aaron, I think we're certainly right. We don't get to speak to him incredibly often. Chris Kirk joins us, second place in 9th overall. Chris, wow, I think you're gonna have to have maybe a trip to the hospital, at least the doctors, because you must feel bruised and battered after that one. Talk us, certainly the final, you were right in the middle of it all, kicking off. Just talk us through those opening couple of corners.
Yeah, I'm not completely sure what happened, if I'm honest. I left quite a lot of room on the inside, going down the outside into turn 1, and then before I could blink, spun around, and then it all just kicked off around me. I kind of rode my luck a little bit, getting going. I thought I had a bit of damage, but wasn't certain, so kind of just took the position I was in the end, and yeah, followed I think it was David home after that. But yeah, absolute. It was a shame, really, because it'd been really good driving standards all week, all race long, for the heat and for this up until that. But it is what it is. I'm still really happy to come home second in the program behind Garrett. So yeah, I can't complain, to be honest with you.
Next week is Rudskogen. Bit of obviously a new track to iRacing, and a bit of a curveball. A track that no one had really ever heard of unless you're Norwegian, and it's certainly a track that I don't think really anyone had ever asked for, but still highly popular. How do you fancy your chances around there? It's a real, personally, I've always found it a real tricky track because of all the undulations within it, and these cars are loose at the rear end, and it's very easy to get the car with all those undulations to lose the rear end more so in a more stable car.
I think it's going to be a survival race, if almost, as you say, these cars are quite snappy at the rear, and that track you have to be so precise driving it. The second you're offline, you're in trouble. Especially the long, seemingly never-ending. I think it's turn 4, turn 5.
Yes.
Like you've got to get it absolutely spot on, which is tricky in a slower car like a Mazda MX-5, for example. Let alone these. So I think it's going to be a lot of precision driving needed, as opposed to being absolutely flat out.
So in terms of where you're going to think prediction time, where you think you'll finish, just roll the dice and whatever that comes out with is where you'll finish.
I'd be happy with the top 5, to be honest. I'm really happy with how I've progressed over the season. It started off a bit rubbish, to be really honest. Yes, it's got better and better as the season's gone on, so I'm really happy with the progress. As long as I'm racing around Philip Russell and Garrett, I'm more than happy with that, to be honest with you. So, hey, top 5, if I had to give you a ballpark, I'd be happy with that.
Oh, definitely. Well, congratulations. Second in class, 9th overall at 4 places in the final. That is Chris Kirk. Well, Aaron, I think we've just about timed it right so we don't run over this evening. I don't know about you. I'm going to find a cold, dark room and just sit in the corner, I think, after that final. I mean, drama, excitement, unpredictability, and, well, we knew it was that before we even got going here today in the Apex Racing Academy Formula 4 Championship.
Yeah, I think we should just have our own room titled the F4 Aftermath Room, where we just need to go and pray and these races are something else. I mean, I don't know about the people watching, but I mean, you don't see anything like this really, not even in officials. You just get utter chaos every single race. Good racing as well sometimes, and yeah, I mean, it's entertainment all round, and well, I'm loving this season so far. I don't know about you, Tim, but even though it's exhausting, it's fantastic to watch.
Oh, it definitely is, and thanks very much for joining us, everyone, from myself, Tim Cox, Aaron Smith, and Samuli Kumo. We'll see you in a week's time on the Apex Racing Academy Formula 4 Championship. Heads to Norway, to Rudskogen. Goodbye.